Hello, and welcome to the next episode of It's Your Time to Shine, a podcast about being a mom in a modern world. My name is Juspreet Kaur, and I am here with my friend Lisa Vora. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Why'd I say hey?
I have no idea, but I like that.
Again, just dropped Allie off, so it's a hey morning.
You're like channeling, do you remember Fat Albert?
Yes.
I used to love that show, and whenever he would go, hey, I wasn't like that attached to any of the characters or anything, but for me, Saturday morning cartoons were a big deal.
Oh my God, yes.
Now that I say that out loud, I realize that many of our listeners may not even know what we're talking about because of the fact that
they're so much younger.
No, they can, because we force our children to listen to us.
I want to actually put on Saturday morning cartoons for Alyssa on Saturday morning. All the old shows, Muppet Babies, Bobby's World.
Yeah, that's so funny. So Bottom does that.
Of course he does.
He and the kids watch She-Ra and He-Man and all that, and it's like terrible print, or I said terrible print. Like, what does that mean? It's really bad resolution.
Right.
And their heart, it's painful for me to watch. My kids love it. They love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They love He-Man. They love She-Ra. They watch Kid Rock.
How about Gem? Gem and the Holograms?
Yes, that was my jam.
Ooh, Gem is excitement. All right, I won't do that.
Oh, yes. And I don't think it was Kid Rock. Sorry, Kid Rock was like a iconic 90s star. What was the name of that? It was like, from my video to my radio. Do you remember that? It was like some
I feel like I do,
TV.
but I don't.
Okay,
Yeah,
it'll come back to me. Anyway, kids don't understand that because they have all content on demand whenever they want, and they have no appreciation for how we used to wait for Saturday mornings.
And you guys are teaching it. That's so awesome. You know, I actually parent based on Bobby's World. Literally, I just go by Bobby's World. That's kind of my trick.
I don't think I saw Bobby's World. What is Bobby's World? Remind me.
Bobby's World was this little kid who took like everything literally. So if you had adults saying, "Hey, Bobby, go break a leg," you would see his head about him breaking his leg and freaking out. But he'd have this active imagination. So kind of teaches, I guess as a parent I can say today, teaches you as a parent to be careful about what you say around your kids,
Yes,
So
that's hilarious.
I actually have a story about that. The other day, I was with Allie. We were outside, and she was playing on the little monkey bars. And she was a little monkey, and I was like, "You're a little monkey." Ooh. She goes, "I'm a monkey. I'm going to be here all night." I'm like, "You want to sleep here all night?" She goes, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "You're going to be here all night with all the owls and, all the bugs." She goes, "That's fine. I'm sleeping out here." And I'm just being funny with her, and we're laughing. That's it, right? Nighttime comes around, and I'm like, "Let's go to bed." We're going to bed. And she's like, "But I want to go outside." I was like, "What? We were just kidding." And then she's like visibly upset because she actually thought that's what we're going to do. So that was my Bobby's World moment. And then I went up to her, I was like, "I am so sorry." And I was like, "You probably thought you were going to have a party out there." And then Samir just looked at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "Have you never seen Bobby's World?" And he's all like, "No." And I'm like, she probably in her head had it where she was having a party outside and Princess Sophia was with her and Frozen and Anna and Elsa. And I just like destroyed it because I was just joking, but I didn't see it from her perspective or whatever. And then she's just sad. And I was like, "I'm sorry." And then I was like, "How about a Kit Kat to make up for it?" She goes, "Okay." That was it.
Oh, that was easy.
I'm just being funny. But honestly, I did notice that moment. Like, wow, she took me literally. She did not see that as a joke.
That's awesome that she wanted to sleep out there. I would have, see, this is how you and me are different. I am so curious about how she proposed to, like, where would she sleep and how she would get comfortable. I'd be like, "Okay, let's go. Tell me your plan."
Oh, yeah. You know what she did? She actually lay down on the bars. It's like these, it's not really a monkey bar. You know what stairs? It's a railing of stairs. So,
okay.
So she, at first she was holding herself up, but then a few minutes later she realized she doesn't need to use her core or arm muscles and she could just lie down. So she goes, "I'm staying here. I have video of this." She's like, "I'm not leaving." And I'm like,
That's
"Okay."
so cute. Aww. That's hilarious.
The funny thing is, though, she won't sleep alone in her room, but she wants to sleep alone outside.
With the owls and the insects. And
exactly. I was like, tell you what, if you can get through an entire night alone in your room, you can go outside. And she thinks she's been alone in her room, but she actually hasn't. because one night she was crying and again I went in because I'm always going in.
Right.
But she doesn't remember that. And then I woke up before her. So she woke up and she's like, I slept all by myself. And I was like, sure you did. And I actually let her believe that because then...
She's more likely to make it through the night.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I had my 13-year-old in my bed last night, so I'm not even going to judge you for...
I love that. No, but I love that. You know, kids 13, 12, they start to get so like, oh, whatever, Mom, I'm too cool for you. And just to be able to cuddle with your child.
Yes. So it's interesting. Okay, so interesting that you would say that because yesterday I took the day off and I went on a field trip with the middle school students.
Oh no, middle school?
Okay, so let me set this up a little bit for you. So we have, I am lucky. I work at this awesome company that gives you volunteer days where they give you like 16 hours a year that you can just volunteer and use however you want.
That's awesome.
It is amazing, and it's super inspirational as well. And it's like there's no barrier. There's no excuse then, right, to like do good in your community, which I just absolutely love. Right. So, and you know, like for us, especially from a sick perspective, but just generally speaking, giving back and having those like non-glamorous volunteer events is like really important. Like, you know, don't just go to the food bank and like have clean hands and like sort food, but actually do some tough stuff too, right?
Yeah, and make it part of your lifestyle.
Right.
Yes, I agree completely. And I love the fact that your company promotes that. That's amazing. You don't see it very often.
Yes, I totally agree. It's just to be able to promote that and to just imagine like you have thousands of people working in a company. If everyone gave their 16 hours, like what an amazing community effect.
What a difference that would make. Yes.
Absolutely. So now that I have volunteered for a middle school field trip, I definitely count that as like one of the more grueling, less glamorous acts of seva or community service that you could do. But let me back up a little bit and give you the context on which like I volunteered for this. So one day last week, I get this email, or all the parents got this email, and it's like, hey parents, there's an opportunity to volunteer for this field trip, and it's to the art museum. And we'll have everybody who wants to volunteer, we'll put your name into a hat and we'll select 2 parents for each grade. And so I looked at that, and maybe the idea was like to generate a buzz and like have a little competition or something. But I looked at that as like, oh, they have way too many people than they have slots. That's why they're doing this like unbiased selection process. So I didn't even bother like putting my name in. And then on Friday, we get an email like, we are desperately seeking parents.
Oh, no. The pressure's on.
Yeah, we're desperately seeking parents to like volunteer. And so I was like, oh, they need help, you know? So I was like, okay, I have volunteer days. Button was traveling anyway. So I was like, let me just take the day off and I can do this. And it would be a nice chill day. And so I wrote back and I was like, yeah, I can do it. And then they're like, can you send us your information, do a background check and do all that stuff? I sent all that. And they're like, okay, awesome, you're cleared. So that was the good news.
You're like, really? I'm cleared?
Like, okay, good to know. So I go on the day. I was all happy. I had breakfast with the kids, and I don't always get a chance to have breakfast with them. I get to the art museum and I'm like, oh, this is so great. Like, this is going to be like such a great chill day. And they assigned me the kids that are going to be in my group, and I have 9 kids, and 4 of the boys, like within 30 seconds of me saying like, okay, group 1, we're going to stand over here, start like in a little tussle.
9 seems like a lot though, the ratio, especially when you're not a teacher. But anyway, go on.
Yes, I think so too. And I think one of the teachers is a friend of mine, so maybe they were thinking like, oh, she can handle it or something.
Right.
And they weren't sure about the other parents. I don't really know. But I'm telling you, these like boys, they're like in a tussle. One of them's my height, so he's like 5 feet. The other 3 are like nearing 6 feet.
Oh no.
And I'm like, okay, guys, you need to knock it off.
Right?
Guys, you need to knock it off. Hey guys, stop. Then I look at the art teacher and I'm like, to whom do I lodge a complaint that I have a disproportionate number of rambunctious, tall 7th and 8th grade boys? And she like kind of starts laughing. She's like, I don't know how that happened. We randomly created the groups and then randomly assigned them, and we'll like separate, we'll pull like a couple kids out, and then like the clique should just resolve itself. And I was like, okay. I'm like looking at them like, okay. And then my daughter, she is in that group with us, and they basically, I guess once they saw that they like, oh, her mom is here, they just pulled her and put her in my group. So she didn't have any of her friends in our group. She was just like kind of there.
I don't know why they do that.
I don't know either.
I mean, I guess I get it on some level. They think, okay, she wants to be with her mom. But honestly, she doesn't want to be with her mom all day. Mom doesn't want to be with her. I think, personally, I think they should keep them separate if they're cool with it. You know?
Yeah, I think it should depend. And she was definitely like, oh, great, why is my mom here? And so I told her, and she had made a comment the night before. And so I told her, I was like, hey, if you don't want to be in my group, that's fine. I'm fine with it. And she's like, because I really was there to volunteer, right? And I was like, I'm doing my community service or whatever. And she was like, no, it's okay. And then she goes, oh, actually, there's 3 of us, and we had to make buddies, like the buddy system. And there was one boy who was all by himself and didn't have anybody to sit with. So I told the girls, like, oh, I'll just be friends with, I'll partner up with this guy who's kind of quiet. He had a camera. He's on the yearbook committee type thing. And she was like, he's kind of quiet, and he doesn't really talk to anyone. Otherwise, he'd be alone. And I was like, oh, Pavneet, that's like really nice. Like that's actually a really nice thing. And she was kind of saying it like, yeah.
That's a big deal for a kid her age to know that and understand it.
Yeah, and the way I interpreted the action was, I did this because it's a nice thing, and I don't want to make a big deal about it, the fact that it was a nice thing. But it did kind of suck because I see my friends taking selfies and like all being together in the same group. That's how it came across to me. So I really felt for her, and I was like, oh, And then sure enough, we go throughout the day. That boy is very quiet. She ends up talking to me a lot more, and she's pretty quiet at school anyway, like in this setting, with other people that she doesn't know. And every time her friends pass, they'd wave to each other and go, hi,
Oh, that kind of hi. I could visualize it. You did a good job.
Yes. Like we've been separated at birth.
I really want to be with you, but I can't.
Yes.
Here's a note. Oh wait, that's 1980. But
I know. No, now they just like check your Snapchat.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever the kids say. And I really felt for her. And then towards the end of the day, she must have come around and realized like, oh, this turned out to be okay, because she said to me, Mama, I'm so glad you came. Like, I really had fun. And she gave me a hug. And she was like, you're a pretty cool mom. And I was like, oh, you're a pretty cool kid.
Yeah, you are a cool mom.
Aw.
I mean, if you weren't a cool mom, it would be completely different. I'm just saying.
Yes, totally.
I don't expect to be a cool mom, because by the time my daughter's 13, I will be 13 years older than you. So.
But you know what? By the time your daughter's a teenager, that's your jam. Like, you're looking forward to the teenage years. So you're going to do great.
I thought I was. I feel like now, because I think I'm going to do well, I'm not now. I'd rather just think I'm not going to do well and then do well.
Okay. Normally, she does like study hall, and then my youngest one's in soccer, and then I pick them both up together. But I was like, oh, well, I'm off. So I picked her up, and we went to Starbucks. And where it's really cold in San Antonio. It was like 40 degrees, and it's raining, and it was freezing.
San Antonio took our weather.
I know, it's been bizarre. And so we walk up to Starbucks, and I had just actually didn't eat before the field trip, and so after I had grabbed some lunch, so I was actually fine. But for her, I was like, hey, it's a warm place that we can sit, and you can do homework right across the street from the school. So we go up, we're walking up, and there's a guy sitting outside with a baby stroller filled with stuff. And he had a sign that said like something veteran, but I couldn't read the rest of it. And he also had only one leg. So he had like a prosthetic leg. And we get out of the car, and Pavneet says to me like, oh gosh, I feel bad for homeless people, but sometimes I get a little scared. And I said, oh yeah, that's natural. And I said, you don't need to be scared. Just be aware, So we get out, and we're running. Like it's pouring in rain, so we're like running to the front door. And the guy is sitting under a very thin awning at Starbucks. And he looked up at me, and I said, man, it's cold. And as I was running, and I was like, do you want a coffee? And he was like, a hot chocolate, please. And I was like, okay. And Pavneet was like, oh, Mom, that's so nice. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's actually not that nice. If we're going into Starbucks and we're going to spend like $8 on 2 drinks, which I'm not a big Starbucks fan. I just think it's such a ripoff. It's highway robbery. But
right. I don't do Starbucks either.
It's part of like we were going in there to warm up, and we were going to sit there for about an hour. So I'm fine with like purchasing something or whatever. So I ordered 2 hot chocolates, one for her and one for him. And he came inside, and he sat down in the corner, and he was like, thank you so much. And I was like, it's cool. And he sat in the corner, and then as the order came up, and I grabbed the 2 drinks, I gave him one. I was like, have a great day. And then me and her sat down, and she was kind of like, oh, mama, that's nice, And I didn't do it for like, let me try to impress my kid. Like, you know me. I was just like, it's freezing cold outside, and just realistically, like, this is ridiculous.
I'm scared to say it, though, to you, but that was really nice.
Oh, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, I thank you. I appreciate that.
You don't want to do it for the credit. I do understand that, because when that happens, then you're just like, oh, my, yeah, you don't want to do it for the credit. I get it. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I wouldn't be sharing, like, there's more to the story. Like, I wouldn't be sharing it just for the fact of, like, hey, I did something nice. Like, literally, there's more to the story.
Yeah. And I actually knew that. I know you so well. I was like, I know there's more to this. There's like a last chapter.
Right. So we're sitting, and I had my laptop and I pulled it out. She has her homework and she's spreading it out and she's drinking her thing. Mm-hmm. And the guy's drinking his hot chocolate, and then he reaches into his backpack and he pulls out a phone and he starts scrolling through his phone. Like, I don't know what he was doing. I didn't walk up to him. He was pretty far away from us. Mm-hmm. But he does have a phone. And she's like, Mom, he has a phone. And I was like, oh, wow. And it was bothering her. And then she, I went back to like continuing to work. I was actually working on our website a little bit. Mm-hmm. And she's like, kept on looking at him. And I said, Bhavneet, what's going on? And she was like, well, why is he asking for stuff if he has a phone? Like, I could tell that it was bothering her. And so I was like, I don't know. And so I just let her kind of sit with it. Like, I just said, I don't know. And I went around about my business. And then I said, okay, well, I said, we have 15 minutes left. Let's go get in the car. And then, because it's raining really hard, like, let's get back to where the soccer practice is and stuff. And she was like, okay. So we pack up our stuff and we get back in our car, and we had parked in front of him, right? Like in front of he had this stroller that was filled with stuff and that sign. And she said, what if he's not homeless and he's just asking people for stuff? And I said, well, that's a possibility. And I said, but think about this weather. And I said, it's 40 degrees. And my app, actually, I pulled it up on my app, and it said 43, real feel 32, which means it's like actually feels really cold, and it's pouring in rain. And I said, in order for a person who has only one leg to sit outside in this weather, something bad is happening in their life. And at Starbucks, they don't let you just sit in there unless you're buying a drink. So when he came in to drink that drink, it actually probably created a little moment for him to be, it's like okay for him to be inside because he's drinking something, right?
Right.
I don't know what their policy is.
Whatever the policy is, we all feel that way. If I go somewhere, I'm like, God, if I just order a drink, I can justify go to the bathroom here. We all have that.
Exactly. And so for a person who may be displaced or maybe homeless or whatever it is, like, that probably gave him a little opportunity to warm up. And so I said that to her. I was like, it doesn't matter. He's in a tough situation. And whether he's homeless or not, we went in, I would have bought 2 drinks, and I wasn't going to drink mine anyway because I had just had a coffee before I came to pick you up. So it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's fine if we bought him something. It's not a big deal.
Right.
And then the light bulb kind of went off in her head. And she was like, oh, we're doing what we want to do. And his life is up to his choices.
That's very good.
And I was like, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
His life is his choices and our life is our choices. And we should pay kindness forward, right?
Exactly. The kindness doesn't go away. You did something nice,
That's right.
And also, what if you are wrong? What if you're completely wrong? What if he's like this really rich guy, blah, blah. He's just doing this because he wants to save $2, Mm-hmm. I would rather make that error than think someone is really rich and like, you know what, I don't think they really need it. And they end up being legit and not give them the hot chocolate.
Right. And maybe decision-making changes when the stakes are higher. Like if he had asked me for $20 or $100, like maybe it would be different.
Right.
But at this point, he didn't ask me for anything. I actually offered to him. Like it started with, do you want a coffee? Right?
This is such a great lesson in kindness, though. It really is. It's not like this is the first moment for her. The fact that she was able to understand and that light bulb went off so quickly means that it is part of her makeup, and she has been witnessing this and learning about this through you guys.
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate you saying that. And I think that what made it difficult for her was that kindness, when we pay back kindness, someone is kind to us and we're kind in return, it's really easy for a child to understand.
Right.
Your kid has their best friend, they brought them a Valentine with chocolates, then we give them a Valentine with chocolates or give them some treat. It's really easy for them to understand. But kindness that you pay forward and put out in the universe is actually difficult for a child to understand, because it feels random.
Right, and especially in this case where she felt like it wasn't really reciprocated because he had a phone.
Right. And like I wasn't ready to get into it with her, but like the stigma and the judgment that we have when we look at someone and say, oh, but they have nice shoes. Oh, but they have a phone. Like,
right.
Are we judging a little bit? I think it kind of opens things up.
Right.
But what I really loved was after that, we talked about how kindness should be paid forward and not only paid back.
Right.
And talked about the boy that she ended up being a buddy with and how that was really kind. Mm-hmm. And how that can make an impact. And, something that's been weighing on me and Budum, especially, I think all parents, but has been weighing heavily on us is after the news of the school shootings last week is like, how do we create that environment where we know what's going on and we know what is happening in our children's lives, whether they are being bullied, whether they are a bully, or even if they're not on either side of that and they're just in a community where someone can be disenfranchised or someone is just unkind and creates that kind of animosity.
And that's a root to a lot of things too, feeling disenfranchised. I think that's something that we need to really talk more about.
Absolutely.
We talk about gun control, which definitely, this is obviously, it's a big, big deal, and we need to talk to our lawmakers about that. But the disenfranchised is also another issue in this particular case, or in these cases of school shootings.
Absolutely, and it has potential to have such a huge impact. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not pro gun control, and I hate when people say like, oh, we need to talk about mental health, wellness, which I totally agree with, but they're like two separate issues and we can do them at the same time, right?
That's what I was going to say. They can all be on the table at the same time. There is no, just because you're talking about mental health or just because you're talking about kids who feel isolated, that we're not saying that gun control isn't important.
Yes.
All of these can cause a child to go to school and start shooting.
Right. Yeah. I saw this. I know, I hate getting news from Facebook, but I happened to see a video yesterday. I saw two videos yesterday. I showed Bhavneet one of them because we had been having that conversation, on our drive home. And one of them was made by the parents of Sandy Hook, which was that elementary school shooting a few years ago, where they showed a boy writing on the library table, and he's like, we're so focused on this little like budding romance that we miss the signs of this shooter in the background. That was one.
That was a powerful one.
It was very impactful. And then the second one that I saw, you know how YouTube and Facebook, they'll like recommend similar videos. The second one was a young boy. He was 13. He was an actor. And one of the news programs had him go out and try to buy lottery tickets, try to buy alcohol, try to buy cigarettes, a bunch of things. And he got carded every time. And then he goes to a gun show and he ends up buying a gun with no problem.
Right. That's good. I haven't seen that, but that's exactly what the problem is.
So it goes into that whole thing, and it's scary. I have kids like in middle school. I have a child getting ready to go to high school.
Yeah, what do you do? Yeah.
And even college, like, what do you do? And someone posted this, I think it was supposed to be lighthearted meme where they're saying like, not lighthearted, but saying like, I can't even cope with this anymore. So what should we make bulletproof backpacks that can at least like protect you a little bit? Like, is that what we're going to resort to?
Right.
And I just couldn't take it. I just see that and I'm like hearing parents their children have just passed away, but they've like gone to the White House or gone to the capital city in their states.
Did you see that yesterday? Did you see that guy at the White House yesterday and then see the stupid note in Trump's hand? He literally wrote bullet points, and then number 5 was, I hear you. So he needed to be coached on how to be compassionate. Sorry, we're not going to get too political, but it's hard not to when we are talking about gun control.
It is. It's hard when you tally up the number of children that are impacted and that have either died or been injured or have PTSD or are scared to go to school.
Right.
And then how do you tell your child, like, you'll be fine? Don't worry, when your child is scared.
Exactly. That's what Samir's sister, she's a teacher, special ed teacher. She said that it is so hard. We have these drills all the time. But she said the hardest part is actually telling these kids, you're going to be okay. It's safe here. It's just hard to say that.
It's a promise that you can't keep.
Samir and I plan to go to the anti-gun march on, at the end of the month. But, I think that there is momentum, though, which makes me which I'm excited about this momentum. Like those young kids who are talking from that high school, they're amazing. And they have the same kind of passion in their eyes that I think we saw during civil rights movement. I'm not saying same things will happen, but it gives me
Yes.
hope.
It does.
And especially these kids. I mean, some of them just turned 18, some are about to. And I feel even more for them because, you know, to anyone else, I'm like, okay, whatever it is, make sure you vote at least. You know, we have that right, and we can make change if everyone actually did it. We can get the lawmakers we want. But when you're under 18, I can see the frustration. Like, hey, I can't even vote. What's going on here? And meanwhile, my best friend just died in front of me.
Yep.
So you see that passion in them. And this march has obviously become pretty big. I mean, with Oprah and Clooney signing off on it too.
Sure,
and I just think there's going to be, I'm hoping that this will generate actual change, this kind of energy, this kind of march. So we're going to go. You guys should come.
You know, it's interesting that you said that because Budham was looking into tickets. He really wanted to take Bhavneet, and he really wanted to have her like be a part of the excitement.
I think that would be awesome. I'll tell you, I talked to my friend Heather yesterday, and she has an 11-year-old, and we were talking about how important it is to take our kids to this. I mean, I think with Alyssa, she might still be a little too young, so I'm on the fence about that. But had she been older, I wouldn't even have thought twice. So her daughter's 11, and we both were talking about how important it is. It's important because they need to be a part of that energy. And who knows what kind of change that can inspire in them.
I totally agree with you.
I think Bhavneet should go.
I know you can probably sense the hesitation in my voice, and I wasn't like, no, you shouldn't go, but I also wasn't like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Because as a mom, big events scare me now. Like, this is the world that we live in. And I understand the circular argument behind that too, because it's like if we don't make a change and we aren't there and we don't show up, then how will things ever change? But it is scary, and nobody wants to be that parent who had a little hesitation in their mind and then didn't say anything and then something happened, right?
Right. And at the same time, we also don't want to live in fear.
No, yeah. And it's very hard to strike that balance. And being farther away from the energy of a march and just having like some of that politically charged spirit around makes a difference. Although there will be a march here as well, and I think there will be marches in all the major cities. So I mean, I'm going to leave it to him. He's a great dad, and he'll figure out what the right thing is to do, and it might depend on finding tickets that are not cost prohibitive, but it's tough. It's a tough situation.
I haven't bought tickets. I need to go. I thought we could just go. I haven't actually looked into that.
No, I mean to get there.
Oh, I'm like, oh my God, tickets for a march? I had no idea.
No, you could just drive or take the metro or walk, right?
My wheels were just spinning right now. I was like, oh my God, as soon as I hang up, I got to go look into tickets for this. I plan to make a video though. I plan to like record everyone and edit it together kind of in a Vice style for me. So. Oh,
that's cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, so I would love for Budham and Bhavneet to be there because if they do come, we would love for them to come with us. And it would be easy. I'm just saying because we don't have to, we can just walk to the metro.
And there's that Dulles flight now, like the one that I took that day that we know is like super cheap.
Everything's so easy. So I'm just saying we can all go together. They can come here.
You're totally right, Lisa. Either way, one of the most important things that I have been trying to impress to my children is studying up on candidates and being prepared to vote in every election for the candidate that supports the views that we think are right, not just for myself and for like our money or our property taxes, but also looking at education and all of the peripheral things such as mental health awareness and gun control and other things that can help make the world a better place.
Right, exactly. You should focus on a common good. I think that's the most important thing. It's about a common good. It's not just about you. It's about everyone, just like you'd said. And, you know, it's not like I don't understand. Like, I have to say, when I first came here from Germany, obviously Germany, England, no guns, right? So for me, it was crazy to come here and oh my God, people have guns. This is crazy. Just outlaw them all. What is this guns right, you know? But as I get a little older and I start to understand the world a bit more and I kind of have more of a roundabout view, you know, I see all points. I do understand Second Amendment rights too, you know, keeps the government from imposing tyranny, the right to protect ourselves without government being able to take that right away. I truly do understand that, especially in light of what we're seeing happening around the world, because people should be able to show that they can resist should something happen.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. And I think as we get older and as systems become corrupt in different ways. Because I think you're right, corruption has always existed, and when you're younger, you don't realize how deeply that runs. But the level of corruption changes, and the system is changing a little bit. But again, the call for gun control is not saying ban all guns.
Right, exactly.
It's singularly focused on having the right background checks, making sure a person is not mentally unstable,
right,
or isn't, violent. And it's in Texas anyway, it's mainly focused on automatic weapons or accessories that make semi-automatic weapons behave like automatic weapons.
Yeah, common sense gun laws. And to me, just being at a minimum age, having background checks done, and also proper training to use the gun. If we can train people to drive, we can train people to use a gun.
Absolutely.
And safekeeping. Those are very important as well. So,
yes.
So when we say common sense, that's what it tangibly means.
Mm-hmm.
So to sit there and give an AR-15 to a kid in Florida is ridiculous, and we know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And just because we are taking all of these steps before giving someone a deadly weapon does not stop the people from protecting themselves, once they get a gun. It doesn't infringe on their Second Amendment rights.
Right, that's right. Yeah, there's no connection between that and the
exactly.
Right. And it's interesting how you come full circle, because Budham and I are we're gun owners, and we have guns in our home. They're all locked up, and so perhaps you wouldn't know that, but we have gone to the range, and we've enjoyed like some of those the pride in ownership that Americans have when it comes to like a nice old school firearm.
Right.
There is like a little bit of like the appreciation of the craftsmanship, but as I've gotten older, like in the last 10 years, I am just less and less intrigued with gun culture. I don't want to be associated with it. I don't want to be a part of it. And whereas before we used to have friends that would come out and say like, oh, can you show me how to like shoot a rifle, like a 22 gauge rifle, which really can't cause a lot of damage, but they're like, oh, it's good for practicing your aim and target practice. Whereas before we'd be like, oh yeah, sure, we can show you how to use it. Now I'm like, I just don't want to participate in gun culture anymore.
Yeah, I've never been into it. Yeah,
I don't want anyone to think like, oh, it's cool, or that's awesome, or any of that. I'm just not interested,
Yeah.
And we actually just converted our safe to a biometric safe. So rather than just having a keypad, you actually like have to scan a fingerprint now, because of the fact that I am like, we need to do more. We need to like constantly do more to protect our children and protect everyone around us.
And that's how it should be, the way you guys are doing it. That's it. You guys have your guns with proper safekeeping. And, should you ever need it for any reason, which would be, government coming after you or your personal protection.
Right.
I mean, if you're exercising the actual right, then you can do it. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. Well, there's so much more to talk about on this topic, but I feel like we should wrap it up for this week. And I do want to say I really appreciate your support and input on encouraging me and Budham to like get our kids to become advocates and take advantage of and experience for themselves that energy, because you're totally right. I don't mean to sound like I'm just scared of everything, but you're right. Kids can benefit by being part of a movement.
Right.
And who knows, we have no idea what they may do in the future, right?
Exactly. I really hope to see them.
All right, so I think we should wrap up here.
All right.
I thank you, Lisa, for the conversation, as always. And thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode of It's Your Time to Shine. Have a great week.